Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we have a different kind of video. It's not a post game. Instead, it's an interview with the one and only Lee Grossman. Now, if you're watching this video, I assume you're a Blackhawks fan. And if you don't know who Lee Grossman is, I'm about to change your world. This guy makes great Chicago Blackhawks content on YouTube. He knows his stuff. He knows hockey very well. He's a passionate Hawks fan. But what makes this guy really special is his live streams. He live streams pretty much every Hawks game throughout the regular season. He's got a great community that comes out to watch. He's absolutely electric on camera, super fun to watch. And if you're like me and you don't have many Blackhawks fans in your life to watch games with, it's a great place to be because you're basically watching with 50 to 100 other Blackhawks fans, and it's just a great time. So, without further ado, please enjoy the interview with Lee Grossman. Lee Grossman, welcome to the show, man. It's good to have you on.
Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been cool to see you starting this, and I'm rooting for you. And I'm excited to talk a little bit of puck with you. So thanks
Oh,
for
thanks,
having me.
man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
My biggest inspiration here, the reason I'm starting YouTube,
Oh,
man, is
stop.
back to the CHR days. Yeah,
Gonna make me blush, bro. Chill.
that's my goal here.
I'm dead.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about the Hawks. Obviously, it's our shared interest. We're both, lifelong diehard Hawks fans. So a lot of interesting stuff with the team this year to get into.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of wanted to start in the AHL, with
Ooh.
some of the prospects. Three defensemen in particular, Korchinski, Del Mastro, and Allan, all guys in the AHL. Obviously, we have a pretty stacked blue line for the future. Um, but out of those three guys, I mean, you have Korchinski in the AHL right now, who's just so dangerous offensively. Like we're seeing that offensive potential we saw in his draft year, and I feel like he's rounding out his game too. Like he's a pretty reliable defenseman back there now, as much as you can hope for with an offensive defenseman. Up to 14 points in 20 games. And then you have Del Mastro, who's really rounding out his game. Like he's become a lot better defensively. He's making a lot better decisions. He's using his body. He's just really rounding out his game. And then Nolan Allan is, the Nolan Allan we saw last year, kind of the shutdown guy who's, you don't really notice him out there, which is a good thing. So I feel like all three of those guys are playing really well. And I just kind of wanted your thoughts on, you know, who gets the call first and when they might get the call and what that means for the NHL squad.
Yeah, I think they all three of them provide something a little different. Like when I think about each of them, as you said, like I do think of Nolan Allan more as the stay-home guy. I think of Korchinski more as the offensive guy. I view Del Mastro as a blend of both, and I feel like from what I've watched of Ethan Del Mastro, I feel like he's more of a defensive defenseman. He's a big body as well. But I feel like this season, in what I've seen from the Ice Hogs, it does feel like Allen's been becoming more comfortable with the puck in growing the offensive side of the game more. So in my mind, Del Mastro's probably the first guy that comes up, especially since we kind of heard like through the grapevine at the start of the year, heading into camp, the Blackhawks were expecting Del Mastro to take a step and be that third pairing guy for the Blackhawks this season, but he didn't have the best camp. He didn't have the best showing in the preseason. Grzelcyk comes in on a PTO, and I think they figured it makes more sense to sign Grzelcyk and give Del Mastro more time to develop. Which in hindsight, at the time, I was against it. I was against signing Matt Grzelcyk just because I was like, you've got these three guys. You can start two of them in Rockford. You can start one of them in the NHL, and then you can rotate them. But I think the Blackhawks felt like all three of them still needed more time. And so I appreciate the decision now. But long-winded answer, I would say Del Mastro. But the fact that the Blackhawks have all three of those guys, I think they should try to figure out which guy they want to round out this decor and start considering moving the others because you still got value there. And dude, the left side, it feels like the left side and the right side is basically figured out for years to come because you on the right side, you've got Levshunov, you've got Rinzel, and Crevier's been absolutely fantastic this year. His skating's getting noticeably better. Like, I don't know how anybody could suggest Louis Crevier's not going to be a long-time NHLer. And then on the left side, you got Vlasic and Kaiser. So it's like you really do only have, I don't think they're going to play 11-7. I mean, unless, do you think they're going to play 11-7 in 4 years? Like, I feel like
Dude, with all these forwards we have coming up, you
you
can't.
can't. And like the 11-7 thing now makes sense because you've got all the young guys. Like, you don't want to have to scratch a Crevier or Rinzel every night. They've played better than some of those, the bottom four, like the Slaggerts and the Laffertys. So it's like it makes sense right now. Like, I've seen people complain about the 11-7. I think it makes the most sense with the group they have. I don't think they're going to do it long term. I think they're going to, I think they're going to be 12-6 like most teams. So that leaves
I
one
agree.
spot open defensively. Third pairing, left shot. You got Crevier, who's a solid defensive guy, who's I think most people envision to be the third pairing guy on the right side. Could you make Korchinski work with that in a little yin to the yang, defensive, offensive? Maybe. But for me, and what I've seen from all of them, both at the NHL and AHL level, I think Del Mastro feels like the most surefire thing. But yeah, I could be swayed. What about you? Do you feel like are you a big Korch guy? Do you disagree on the Del Mastro take or what?
I agree with you on the Del Mastro take that I think if anyone's going to get called up first, it should be him. And I think when you look long term, uh, he fits best into sort of that bottom pairing
Yeah,
with say Crevier if he's the one who ends up being down there with him. And I want to be high on Korchinski. I've always been a big Korchinski fan, but I feel like we've seen him do well in Rockford before in his previous stints, and he comes up, and I feel like his game just doesn't translate to the NHL. And
yeah,
I mean, part of that, obviously he's still only 21 years old,
yeah.
so I mean, these things take time for some players. Um, but I feel like in the NHL now, like we're at a point in the NHL where guys who are 20, 21, 22 are dominating the NHL. And I feel like we're heading in a direction where development paths are becoming shorter and shorter. And I just think with Korchinski, if this keeps up, the value is going to go down and down and down. And I also just think that in a perfect world, I don't think he's a third pairing guy. Like, I think your offensive defenseman should be near the top, and especially with who the Hawks have now and Rinzel and Levshunov, like Korchinski's going to be a power play guy. If anything, that's his specialty is offense, right? And if you already have Levshunov and Rinzel, you're not going to give Korchinski that power play time, and he's just going to kind of get buried on that third line and or that third pairing, sorry. Um, so I've moved I'm moving from team get Korchinski up here to team, he's kind of the odd one out and he's the
Hmm.
guy I think you move on from if you move when you move on from somebody because
You're
it's
gonna have
inevitable
to.
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's just too many
Korchinski,
guys.
and to that point, Korchinski is obviously of those three would be the guy with the most value trade wise,
Yeah.
like without a doubt. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you throw him in like a trade package for a better player because it's not like you need to trade him for draft capital. It's like what kind of player can you get for Kevin Korchinski that can complement this group? But the thing is, and they're not going to rush to do it. I think even though you might suggest that like the longer you wait, the less value he has. I don't think they're going to rush to do it because as I've said so many times on my streams and videos, is like we still don't know exactly what the Blackhawks have. They're still waiting on so much talent to arrive at the NHL level. So I think they're going to wait for that to pan out, see what the roster needs, and then maybe you trade a guy like that.
Yeah, and if there's one thing we know about Kyle Davidson, he trusts his guys and he likes
Yeah.
to let them marinate.
Yeah.
So and come up when they're ready. So yeah, I don't anticipate a move coming anytime soon, of course. Like you said, you got to figure out what you have and not just with those guys, but there's still so much talent that's not even in North America yet,
Yeah.
so you got to figure out what you have and then I guess trade to fill the holes, fill where you don't have it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I keep talking to people about, who the Hawks are going to move on from when the time comes. And one thing I struggle with when, kind of predicting these things is like who are the Hawks going to bring in? They're not going to bring in young guys. They don't need draft capital. And then you think, okay, they'll maybe bring in a superstar. But like I'm projecting these lines going forward, and when you bring in like Lardis, Frondell, Kantserov, it's like where's this superstar going to play? Like, are these guys going to play in the bottom six? Like, I just feel like if all these guys pan out, who do you
Yeah,
bring in?
no, no,
What
no.
do you bring in?
It's a great point, and I think the hater clap back to that statement would be, well, you can't bank on all these guys panning out. They're probably not going to all pan out. It's like, okay, yes, that's true. They might not all pan out. Anton Frendel might not be a top six player. Nick Lardis might not translate. His skill set might not translate to the NHL level. That's true, but they also might. Like
Yeah,
they also definitely
they're looking good right now.
it's looked pretty good. People were saying that Lardis's game wasn't going to translate to the pro level. He's ripping up the AHL. I know there's a step between the AHL and the NHL, but I mean, we've seen small, undersized young players do well in the AHL and then come to the NHL and play for the Blackhawks and do well. So we've seen it,
Yeah.
and so I'm not going to bet against any of them. And so yeah, I think you wait. I think you wait. You might need more size, because I think where my head's at right now is maybe you play like Lardis on the first line with Bedard, put Frundell on that second line with Nazar and Moore, and then maybe you need a little bit more size up front, as you said earlier. Or actually, maybe we weren't recording yet when you said it, but just talking about moving Ryan Green from the first line down to the third line. Then maybe you put Frundell on the first line with Bedard. I don't know. It's like we don't even know what combinations. Yeah. And then like Kantserov, are you going to have Kantserov play center? Is Kantserov going to play on the wing with one of these guys? Do you want a Nazar more Lardis or Nazar more Kantserov, three undersized guys? Do you want all those guys playing on the same line? We don't know, man. We might have a third line full of scorers with talent, and we just blitz you with three lines that can hurt you at any time. Who knows what the makeup of this group is going to be. I think you got to wait till next year before you talk about bringing in someone like a big name.
I agree. I agree. And
what do you like? I don't know. Where do you see, like, where would you plug Frundell and Lardis right now?
I mean, Frondell, I've kind of always pictured on Bedard's line because of the size he brings, and obviously like Bedard doesn't have that, and I don't know how long Burakovsky's going to be there, but he doesn't really bring that either, and he seems like a guy that until his contract's up could play on that top line. So I kind of always pictured Frondell on that top line, and with Nick Lardis, like size is obviously a factor, and so I don't picture him in the bottom six. But like you said, like if he gels well with a guy like Ryan Green, who we think is going to be a bottom six center, maybe that is where he plays best. Like he could be like a Ryan Donato who just feeds on third and fourth line opponents. You try him in the top six and he doesn't thrive as well as he does in the bottom
Yeah.
six. So Lardis could be a guy like that. But to Lardis's credit, one thing I was surprised about and interested to see was when Moore got the call up, was how was that going to impact Lardis's game? And credit to Lardis, I mean, he hasn't missed a beat since losing Moore on his line. Like he doesn't need a guy that's established in the NHL already to kind of help him out down there. So who knows, man? Lardis could be on that top line with Bedard.
Dude, we don't know, and and it's just like hopefully at some point this year we get to see Lardis on the first power play unit with Bedard. Like that would be fun. Even though Bedard has been playing on the right side of the power play, he started on the left side. Lardis's office is on that right side, similar to like Leon Draisaitl, very similar kind of threat as far as the shot goes. I'm not saying that Nick Lardis is Leon Draisaitl. I'm just saying the way they score goals on the power play is similar. I want to see it. I want to see Bedard on the left side, Lardis on the right side. Just because if you have that threat where it's like you can't leave Lardis open, you can't forget about him because he will hurt you with that shot. But at the same time, you can't give Bedard too much space with the puck because he'll dangle you and score himself. So that excites me. And so
and then hey, if you have Bertuzzi in front of the net still, that's another weapon you got to worry about.
And then next year, I think when Roman Kantserov comes over, I think you put Roman Kantserov in the slot. not been great in the slot. I don't think they've been able to get him the puck very much. But I think you put Roman Kantserov in the slot because that's where he's absolutely feasted in the KHL this year. His teammates are able to find him all the time. He gets open and he's got a really quick release. So yeah, I think Bedard left half wall, Lardis right half wall, Bertuzzi net front, Kantserov in the slot, and then Levshunov on the point. I think it would be a pretty dangerous power play.
Oh man, I'm just dreaming for that
Yeah,
day when it comes. I
yeah.
mean, that's going to be unreal. Speaking of Artem Levshunov, I did want to talk about him a bit. It feels like, for the most part, he gets better every game. Um, you know, his last few games, like the LA game, the Vegas game, they weren't his best offensively per se. Like he wasn't, no, as noticeable as he's been in the past in some games. But I feel like we're getting less and less of those Levshunov mistakes, that give you a heart attack in front of your own net. Um, so even though the offense, isn't there every game, it still feels like he's getting better every game. And I think we're heading in a direction where come next season he'll be the number one guy or could be the number one guy. Um, with him being probably going to be our number one defenseman maybe as soon as next year
Mhm.
and how well he plays with Kaiser, do you think there's a world where Vlasic moves to that second line and kind of becomes the third guy? Because for a while now he's been the guy, the number one guy, even in talks of being, potential captain in the future.
I I don't know. For me, Alex Vlasic is a perfect first pairing defenseman, especially like the speed at which he's been playing with. Like he feels like his skating's getting so much better, and with the size. Like I feel like I just picture Alex Vlasic as you got to have him on your first pairing because that's who you're going to play up against the toughest, matchups every single night. The thing is like, do you keep Vlasic and Crevier together? Are you gonna have is Vlasic and Rinzel gonna be the pairing? I think for me, when you're talking about like where are these guys gonna play, it's more about the pairings and what makes the most sense that way, rather than like who's the 1, 2, 3. Because I think depending upon what you're looking for, you can make the case like, if there's 5 minutes left in the game, you're up a goal, Alex Vlasic's the number one. If you're down a goal, you might be looking more towards Rinzel and Artie. And I feel like they've really, really liked Kaiser and Artie together. I would imagine they're going to continue to play those two together. I think they've got a lot of chemistry. I think their games complement each other well. So look, I'm it's not even a thing that I worry about. Like I feel like this decor is so solid. You've got a little bit of everything. They all complement each other well. Not one player is similar to another. They all bring different things to the table. So the order at which they play doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't matter to Jeff Blashill because if you look at the minutes, like you'll have nights where Artie and Kaiser will play the most, and then there will be a night where Vlasic plays the most, and then you'll have a night where Crevier plays a ton, and then you'll have a night where Crevier only plays 10 minutes. So I think it'll vary game to game, and I don't think it's super important as to who's the number one, because it's like maybe Artie ends up being the guy who is the quarterback on your first power play unit long term, but then maybe he still doesn't play as much as a Vlasic or a Rinzel. So I think that's kind of the way I view it.
That's a great answer. That's a great point. About not having it's not about 1, 2, and 3. It's about pairings and matchups.
Yeah.
I think that's bang on. I think that's a great point. Um, Obviously we can't go through this without talking about Connor Bedard. Um, he is just a completely different player. I mean, everyone said it. It's nothing new for me to say he's a completely different player this
Mm-hmm.
year. But I feel like most people just talk about his speed, and obviously that's a big factor. But it feels like he's a different player in every single aspect.
Yeah.
Defensively, physically, his speed, his shot is even somehow improved. I
Yeah.
didn't think that was possible, but it has. Um, what besides the obvious, his speed, what sort of change to his game has been the most impressive for you?
It's a good question, and that's a question that I'd like someone to ask Bedard because like when people ask Bedard these questions, they'll be like, "Oh, what did you do this summer? Like, what did you work on?" What I'd want to know is like, how much, your numbers so far, Connor, have been significantly better than years past. Like he's going to finish this year with the amount of points he scored in the first 2 seasons of his career, so something's obviously changed. But how much of that is because of whatever he was doing specifically, in the training this offseason, and how much of it is just him a year older, a year wiser, another year in the league, experiencing the road schedule, experiencing, the grind of an 82 game season for the second time in a row, the maturity, the confidence growing. Like for me, as a young man, there you have years where you grow a lot, and this isn't something just for athletes. And so I would be curious to know what he thinks the answer to that is it's like, how much of it do you accredit to the training you put in, and how much of it is like your growth as a person and as a player in the league? And so, yeah, I don't think that one summer, a few, 8 weeks of skating elevated Connor Bedard from what we saw in the previous 2 years into the bona fide superstar that we've seen this season. It's got to be more than just power skating, and so
Yeah, I agree.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
that kind of goes into exactly kind of what I think is behind this. Is I think it's so much of it is his mentality. Like he's feel like these are things he could have done in the past, but his mentality I think is different now.
mhm.
And one thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think there's any sort of, he's seeing how well Macklin's doing. He's hearing the comments. He's hearing, Macklin's better. Macklin's going to make Team Canada. No shot for Bedard. Do you think that at all is motivating him to play differently and kind of changing his mindset a little bit?
No, not the Macklin stuff in particular. No, I think the comments about him specifically, like the comments of like, this guy doesn't play the right way, this guy's not good enough to build a team around, this guy, was supposed to be generational and has not lived up to the hype. I think he pays a lot of attention to that stuff. I think that stuff he's heard, and I think that stuff has bothered him. But he's trained the entire summer with Macklin Celebrini. It's one of his good buddies. I don't think that motivates him, but I do think that talk from the media about Bedard in specific does bother him, and I do think that probably played a big role in his motivation for getting so much better coming into this year.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you think that the Celebrini talk, like, low key, maybe even if he says it doesn't, you think it, like, deep down somewhere it does?
I don't know, like I think the fact that like they're buddies, and then you see the in the Anaheim game the other night, like with McTavish, I feel like he gets fired up
Yeah,
competing against his
that's a good
buddies,
point.
so
That's a good point.
I don't know. I think there could be some, like you said, they're buddies, they train in the off season together, they talk. I feel like there could be a little bit of like, Macklin's on cloud nine, living the life right now in the NHL, and then, obviously still the mentality and the sort of narrative around Bedard last year. So I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I do think you're spot on too with he hears what people are saying about him in particular, and not just Macklin. I think you're spot on with that.
Maybe I take my answer back. Maybe there's got to be a small piece of them that it does motivate. I mean, I think that's just like a human element. Like everybody experiences envy and jealousy to some extent. Even if you try to combat it as much as you want, I'm sure there's a shred of Connor Bedard that sees, oh, Macklin Celebrini tearing it up. All right, now watch me.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a sliver of it, but I do think that it's more about what people say about Bedard specifically.
I found it funny too on the night that they both got hat tricks.
Yeah.
Obviously, San Jose played the later game, and I just had this image of Bedard like coming off the ice, feeling good, and he's checking his phone. He's like,
Are you
"Fucking
kidding me?
Like,
Yeah,
like
because
this
that's
guy did
what,
it too. Like, what the
dude.
fuck?"
Dude, because I threw that game on that night after the Hawks played, and I was like, if they go into overtime, because Macklin scored his hat trick goal in overtime, I think, right? That game,
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember, and they get the power play. It was like a 4-on-3 power play that they got in overtime, and I was like, well, you know what's gonna happen here, and then it happens, and I think I texted my dad like, of course, this fucking guy, like he can't we can't have one night, Macklin.
Yeah.
But that's just a credit to how good Celebrini's been. I mean, he's
Yeah.
obviously we watch Connor Bedard every single night, and he's been out of this world and completely dominant. Celebrini's doing the exact same thing, So,
Yeah, it's a treat to watch.
yeah,
It's obviously we're never gonna have anything like Crosby Ovechkin again, but if this rivalry can even be a shred of it, I think we're gonna have, be gifted for the next 15 years.
yeah, and it's exciting to think about what playoff series are going to look like in a couple years with Anaheim looking the way they are, with Carlson and Gauthier and Seneca and some of the young guys they have, and then same thing with San Jose and the Blackhawks. It's like the 2010s all over again. So,
Yeah.
which a lot of people talk about as like the best era of hockey, the early 2010s, and obviously, as a Blackhawks fan, I would agree. I'm a little biased because, that was the best era of Blackhawks hockey ever. But that's pretty exciting to think about, getting some of those matchups down the road and building some of those, like, not just the teams, but like the individual players, pitting them against each other. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I have a lot of buddies who are Canucks fans, and now the Hawks are getting good again. As of today, Canucks are 32nd in the NHL. I have a few buddies saying to me, like, man, I wish these two teams could be good at the same time again because those playoff matchups were just, dude, I mean, Hawks fan living in BC, I was like had a target on my back for 7 years, but those rivalries were just electric, and it'd be so nice to have that back again. The same with Anaheim, San Jose, LA. I mean,
Vancouver's got to
unfortunately, are going to
strip
be
it
different,
down.
but
Vancouver's got to strip it down and just rebuild, because it's like,
yeah,
especially after, you give up JT Miller too. It's like you've already started to move on from a couple pieces. Are you really going to try to build this whole thing around Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes, who is, I don't know, man. I saw a lot of chatter on Twitter today about Quinn Hughes and a move and maybe to
yeah.
the Blackhawks. And I'm going to ask you a
I don't
question.
know about you, but like, sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, how do you feel Quinn Hughes to the Blackhawks, but it takes Frank Nazar and something else?
We had a, I don't know if you remember, you get a lot more activity on Twitter than I do, but we had a brief little
Mm-hmm.
back and forth on one of your posts on
Yeah,
Twitter,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I was saying the only way I want Quinn Hughes is if there's an extension
Mm-hmm.
along with it, just because there's no guarantee he signs after the year and a half or whatever he has left. But I don't know. I mean, I'm still hesitant just because I just love the direction this team is going. I love the culture that's being built here in the sense that all these guys, because of our, you got Rockford and a lot of these guys, they have the camps together every year. A lot of them played in World Juniors together. All these guys know each other so well, and I feel like the Hawks have done a really good job of bringing all these guys up together, and I think that translates on the ice a lot. And so to lose, Nazar or Rinzel or Lardis or probably a few of these guys, I don't know, like, and that just could also just be I'm emotionally attached to these players, but one thing too is I've had a problem with Quinn Hughes' attitude lately. Like I go to a lot of Canucks games, obviously, because I live in Vancouver,
Yeah.
so I go to a lot, and I mean the guy is so checked out. The guy doesn't do anything in the community anymore. The guy doesn't really care to do anything with fans. He doesn't care to be the face of this franchise. And just his play on the ice. Like I don't know if you watched the
Yeah,
Sharks
I
game with them
saw
the
it.
other night.
And I saw the one against the
Um,
Avs too, of him just
that one
like
too.
circling around, just kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I don't know if I want that on my team. Like
Dude,
the guy's miserable. I get it.
yeah.
He wants out. Like it's fair. Like I don't blame him per se, but like dude, when you got the C on your jersey, man, that's a tough look.
Yeah. No,
I
I
don't
agree. Dude,
I don't know if I want that.
I am really excited to see Quinn Hughes at the Olympics, just because I want to see how he does in that best on best situation.
Yeah.
Just because part of me is like, it's obviously the same criticism, but 2x for his brother Jack. It's like, well, Jack, like what have the Devils done in the playoffs? They've won one series in the Jack Hughes era. He wasn't a ghost. He wasn't a ghost in Four Nations. I think he like genuinely hurt Team USA in Four Nations. Like he couldn't do anything really out there. He was pushed off the puck so easily. He wasn't able to create, the time and space that he's used to seeing. He didn't have that. Now, I've said so many times that I think Quinn Hughes is closer to Cale Makar than people let on. Like, I don't think the gap between the two of them is that close. It's time to see. It's time to find out at the Olympics. I think that's going to be the best place to find out. And
I
yeah,
agree.
I mean, I think Quinn Hughes is a sensational hockey player. What he can do with the puck, what he can do in the offensive zone is he's a wizard. Like he can hurt you in so many ways when he has the puck, and there's no denying that. But I completely agree. Like there are questions there. Is this the temperament of And he's got the C for them, and I don't know. Is that a guy you want to be in the trenches with? Like when I look at
Yeah,
when I watch
yeah,
the way Connor Bedard competes, and I watch the way Connor Bedard deals with other teams, and like it just feels like he's always engaged, and it's like that's a guy I want to go to war with. I don't know if quiet, sweetheart Quinn Hughes over here is a guy I want to go in the trenches
yeah.
with. I don't know.
I don't know if you remember back to it was when were the Canucks in the playoffs? The 24 playoffs, I believe, is when they
Yeah,
got to the
yeah, it
second
was
round
two
versus
years ago,
Edmonton.
right? And then lost to
Um,
Edmonton 7.
yeah, the first round against Nashville. I want to say it was game 6, maybe. It was in Nashville, and Besser got a hat trick to tie the game with like 2.5 seconds left, or 3.5 seconds left, or something. And Quinn Hughes obviously was on the ice, and I remember seeing. Obviously, everyone on the Canucks bench, everyone on the ice lost it when Besser scored that goal, and Quinn Hughes didn't even put his hands in the air. Like Quinn Hughes just like la-di-da skated over to the circle to the celebration there, and I even thought like, man, the Canucks are winning, and why does this guy seem to not care? So I feel like this issue kind of goes back even to when they were good.
And
I
it
don't want to read too much into it, but
and
I wonder like how do you not lose it when you tie a playoff game with 3 seconds left?
Dude, and I was literally just about to say that, like, that could be us as fans reading too much into it, and it's like not that big of a deal. It's just a body language thing. But for me, as a fan, like, I show me you care. Like when you score a big
Yeah.
goal, I want to see, and that's the same like casual shit that Austin Matthew does that drives me insane. Like this like too cool for school acting like you've been there before. It's like, what if any of you won? None of you have won shit. Celebrate,
Yeah.
like you're gonna move on from this tough playoff. It's tough to win playoff series. Nothing, not every game is a given in the NHL, let alone a playoff series. Act a little excited. Like, I'd understand if you're a like as the Blackhawks dynasty went on, you wouldn't see Seabrook or Keith or Tays like celebrating like crazy people really at all. Like they kept it pretty under wrap. Patty Kane would always celebrate, obviously, but for a lot of those other guys, they would kind of, because they've, these guys have all won Conn Smythes and Stanley Cups and gold medals. Like they were all, by 2014, they had won everything there was to win. So I understand that. But like for these guys like the Hughes brothers and like, we get it, you're a superstar, but you haven't won shit. You haven't really proven anything. You're phenomenal talents, but it's more than just talent to win the Stanley Cup playoffs, so
Yeah.
I
I
agree with
agree.
you. That drives me nuts. I agree.
Yeah. And the difference too with like you're talking about the 2010 Dynasty Hawks teams, like the difference with them, I feel like they're, obviously Patrick Kane aside, but the other guys who don't maybe celebrate and get excited as much when they score, like they've actually done it before. Like when you're en route to your third cup and you score a goal in the Western Conference Finals, you've done that before. Whereas like guys like Austin Matthews, like it's more of an act, I think, of like, oh, I gotta act like
Yeah,
it's no big
yeah,
deal,
yeah, yeah.
or like,
Because he doesn't,
but yeah, when you're en
because he
route to
doesn't
your
want
third
that
cup, you've been there.
criticism. Like some of these guys are like scared. Like Austin Matthews doesn't want to celebrate a goal. Maybe a big goal in the first round because people are going to be like, "Oh, congratulations, you scored in the first round." But it's like, okay, so you are letting what people say get to you. Then it's like,
Yeah.
be yourself. Like if you genuinely don't celebrate when you score, or you see your teammates that you're in the fight with, that you're watching overcome adversity all year, when you see your teammates score a big goal and like that doesn't move you emotionally, I start to wonder, because I've played, I've never been a professional athlete, but I played sports competitively. Like I understand what it's like to an extent. I'd get happy when I'd score. I'd get happy when I see my friends score.
Yeah.
Because I want to win. I'm hyper competitive, and so goals are just a step closer to winning. I celebrate those things, So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Dude, like I still play men's league hockey and it's still like, dude, the games get scrappy sometimes. Like some guys they don't try to, but they'll let out a little,
Yeah,
when they score.
yeah.
Like, dude, and if that's men's league, like how are you not celebrating in the NHL?
NHL, dude. I don't know. Beats the piss out of me, man. I would be celebrating
Yeah,
like
I
Artie
agree.
Levshunov every time I scored if I was in the NHL.
What an underwhelming celebration for his first goal, by the way.
I
I
think
was
he
expecting so much more.
I think he knew he had to. I think he knew everyone was talking about it, and so he wanted to dial it back. I think if we see another Artie goal, I think we'll see a bigger celebration. I think he wanted to
I
keep it
hope
under
so.
wraps for his first.
Some people had the idea that it makes him happier when his teammates score, and I just love that
I love
thought that
that too.
that was
Yeah.
the motivation behind it. Like
Yeah.
if that's the case, then I love it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
How can you
So
not, dude? How can you not love that guy? Like, and I've said it so many times on my show. It's like, even when he turns the puck over, has a stinker of a game, I'm just like, dude, I love this guy so much. Like his personality,
yeah,
the way he competes, like the way he looks, like when they just like when he like fucks up and they pan the camera over to him and he's just on the bench. Like he's so funny, dude. He brings me so much
dude,
joy to watch.
I love that play. I can't remember. Was it in the preseason or was it early in the regular season where he missed the net and he just fucking threw his hands up in the air when play's still happening?
Yeah, yeah. Like you can't
Like
make
any other player, that would piss me off. But
yeah.
with him, I was like, I love it.
It's
It's
he's like
hilarious.
it's like watching a kid out there. Like I don't know, he's just like such a pure human being. I'm a big Artem Levshunov fan for sure.
All right, one last question to wrap it up here. A nice easy one for you. Are the Hawks making the playoffs this year?
That's the hardest question you've asked this entire time.
If you had to bet on it, which by the way I did, I put $4 down on Hawks making the playoffs, so we'll see.
Yeah, I parlayed Ohio State football national championship, parlayed with the Blackhawks to make the playoffs for a nice payout. But
Ooh, I like that.
dude, do I think they have a chance? I genuinely believe they have a chance. If it was a gun to my head, no, I'd probably say that I see them just on the outside. But something I was talking about on stream last night, when you think about the Olympics, like last year after Four Nations, all the guys that went and came back were terrible. They were terrible. It took everybody time to get back to, because you're like, the Four Nations meant way more to those guys than anything that's happening in the regular season. You
Yeah.
could almost argue that it meant more to them to perform for their countries than like playoff hockey did, at least for the first few rounds. So I think once
Yeah.
that adrenaline dump and it's like you've got this condensed schedule and then you've got the Olympics and all these guys are trying to compete for Olympic spots and then you go and you have the Olympics and then they come back and then you've got that stretch before the playoffs. I think guys are going to take their foot off the gas, and I don't think the Blackhawks are going to have very many, if any, outside of Connor Bedard, maybe Spencer Knight, for USA and Canada. Like they're not going to have a ton of guys at the Olympics. So I think they'll have the potential to, finish the season really strong after the
Yeah.
Olympics.
Take advantage of that.
And like at that point, like once you get to the trade deadline, maybe you move off of a veteran guy. You're going to start injecting more young talent into the lineup. Last year, we saw when that happened, the team started to have a lot more success. They got more jump. So I think with all those factors, the Blackhawks should be set up to have a really solid finish to the season. They've started the season super well. And so, yeah, I think, all the people that I was arguing with on Twitter while they were on their 5-game skid, I feel pretty good about me telling everyone that they need to chill out and that they're overreacting to just a few upsetting finishes. Because I think that's what it was. I think you got, you have that 5-game skid. All of a sudden, everybody's brains that watch this team completely flip on a dime, which I thought was crazy. It's the same
I'm
group.
not gonna lie, I spiraled a little bit.
Yeah, I
Not
understand.
because you're right. It's not like they played bad hockey in all. Like the only bad game really you could say was
The
Buffalo.
Buffalo
I mean, that
game.
was atrocious.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like they weren't playing terrible hockey. The reason I started to spiral a bit is because I was like, okay, it's a young team. How are they gonna respond? Like my worry was that it's gonna deflate
Yeah.
them, and clearly it hasn't. And they've been. Dude, even in Vegas, like they were the better team in Vegas.
Yeah,
the other night.
100%.
And
Dude.
I feel like you can say that for a lot of these losses.
Dude, I
They
mean,
were the
and you
better
go
team.
back, like, they could have and should have beaten Colorado. There was a 1-goal game. Like, I thought they played better at times. I don't think McKinnon was super oppressive that game. Cale Makar was flying, but, like, they could have beaten Colorado. They should have won that Minnesota game. Terrible refereeing. They should have won the Seattle game. It's like
Yeah.
you got 3 results of the 5 that, you play them again, they might come out as the winners. So, like, when I saw that, I was like, why are people acting like this is like something just happened and they reverted to last year? Like, I think they've gotten a little unlucky. Frank Nazar was dealing with that injury. I mean,
Yeah.
he's back, right? Like, how much
I
better?
think it's safe to say
How
he looked
much,
so good last night.
dude? How much better is this team when he's looking like he did last night?
Yeah.
Like when you've got Bedard, Nazar playing like they can, it's a dangerous team.
I hope you guys enjoyed the interview. His link will be in the description below. I highly encourage all of you to go check out his channel. Like I said before, it is the place to be for Hawks games. Be sure to check him out, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Follow me over on Twitter. There's a lot of good Hawks conversation over there, and I'll see you in the next one.